Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today. And though you've come through many obstacles.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to The Owl House, Season 2, Episode 15. So, Season 2B has been fantastic so far, and I'm just really excited for another episode. Not much else to say. We've been getting some great stuff with Amity, with Luz, with some developments, getting to learn about Luz's father, getting to see Amity and her father have some more interaction. And just some general good stuff, good setup for what is to come with Emperor Bellos and the Day of Unity and everything. And now the question is just kind of, what do we do next? Because again, as I've said, every episode in Season 2B so far has been important, either to plot or character development or both. And we've been getting kind of a little bit of everything in that regard. We've been getting stuff with kind of what's been happening with Rain, what's been happening with Hunter, even Darius to a degree, although his is kind of intertwined with Hunter's. We've been seeing, again, Luz and Amity. We find out more about Philip. We just get more and more and more and more info and developments that is just continuing to rock the foundations of the series and its world. And yeah, I'm obviously hyped to see where that all leads. We have little hints, little pieces of information, but not enough to really piece together a full, just complete explanation yet. But I'm very curious, I'm very interested. So we're just going to get this started. We're not going to waste any more time. I just want to see what's going to happen, you know? So, when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. God, I am so fucking happy that they're not being mind controlled after all, that it was fake. Either that, or at some point they realized they were being mind controlled and like stopped it. But oh my gosh, the instant they whistled into the drink while blowing on it, it's like it instantly hit me, like, because that was a memorable point in the flashback through this episode. Them changing the flavor of the drink with the bardic whistling. So it's like the instant I noticed them doing that at the end there, it's like that's just instantly it clicked in my mind. It's like, oh shit. I am so happy, and I'm happy that they're avoiding Ida just to try and protect her. I really like that. It honestly takes a shit ton of stress off of me. Because if I was being honest, after the last time we saw Rain and saw what was happening with them, and that they were, from what we thought at the time, being controlled by the potion, basically, the potion tea that Snapdragon was giving them. I was extremely stressed about their situation and was really scared for where that was going to go, and I was scared that eventually Ida and them would have to like really go at each other, really fight and everything, like much more so than we saw before, like an actual real big battle. And I'm so fucking relieved and just so fucking happy that they're okay. It's just such a huge weight off my shoulders, because I was so worried about them. But let's talk about the rest of this episode. The actual main core of this episode is, as Ida puts it, the story of how she and Rain first met. But there's a lot more to it. actually. It gives us more than just that in terms of backstory. This backstory actually gives us quite a bit of interesting information. First off, we find out who the principal of Hexside was prior to Bump. That it was this monster named this demon named Faust, and that he was not only just absolutely terrifying in terms of appearance and voice and all, but also terrifying in terms of the way he controlled the school. The way he handled things was absolutely fucked up. And it's really interesting to see, even back then, that Bump, while adhering to rules and really wanting to focus on the bylaws and everything of the school, he was always a lot more compassionate towards the students, and always believed that the students could always be redeemed, could always be better. And we see a lot of that obviously come through in the current day, even with the fact that, like, oh, after certain events, it's like he sees the value in certain things and has even relented on certain things, such as allowing Luz and some of the others to study multiple tracks at once. It's a really important bit of character development to see that he was always like that. To see that he's always been a lot more cool than others who were in the position he is now. It shows that he is a genuinely good principal who just wants what's best for his students and wants to foster them a good learning environment. That's amazing, and I like that. And this episode really does make Bump that much more likable, and he was already pretty likable. So, good job there. But then we also have Ida and Lilith's relationship explored a little more. We definitely have had bits and pieces of their relationship when they were younger, talked about and even shown to a degree in their past. And we see that this takes place prior to Lilith cursing Ida, almost directly prior. So we see that everything's kind of setting up for that. We see that they have an amazing relationship together. They're really close. They argue a little. They spat back and forth, but nothing like actual fighting. No actual real arguments. But then after the entire little challenge testing that Ida and Rain are put through, we see that it looks almost like Ida and Lilith's relationship starts to fade a little bit at the end there. Which it's lucky for Ida that it's at that time when Rain comes into her life. Having them there for them when Lilith starts to, like, kind of push away from Ida a bit. That was probably very good for Ida in a lot of ways. And of course, we see Snapdragon in this episode, and we get to see more of how she acts and how she manipulates things. And she, at least back in the past, I don't know if it's still relevant to the current day, but in the past, she was very much one of those people who just completely ignores rules and laws and stuff most of the time and does her own shit. Like, Bump even has to come up to her and tell her, like, you're breaking a lot of laws here, a lot of school bylaws, a lot of just child safety laws and rules and regulations and shit. And she just, like, basically says, I don't fucking care. Look, there's only a couple times where she actually relents on that kind of thing. And that's only when a member of the Emperor's Coven tells her that something is against the law. That's the only time she relents on that. And maybe because she's worried that the Emperor will find out and something will happen to her because of it. She'll maybe lose her position. But, yeah, it's like the thing she was, like, threatening to do, like poisoning all the kids and stuff, and basically threatening to murder the shit out of everyone there. It's like, my God, you're just absolutely psychotic. Like in the current day, she seems a lot more controlled. She seems a lot more like a manipulator, like someone who's pulling the strings and trying to, control everything, including Rain in this case. Um, but she doesn't actually seem as actively psychotic as she did in the past. So I'm wondering if maybe she's calmed down, or if maybe we just haven't seen that side of her in the current day yet. I'm almost kind of thinking it's the second option. I'm kind of thinking we are going to see that come out of her at some point. Um, and of course, we have to talk about the relationship of Ida and Rain, our two beautiful lovebirds, because like just everything about them is precious, and I love them, and I want them so badly by the end of this series to just like I do with Luz and Amity, to kiss. I want to see them kiss. I like full on the mouth. I just want them to be happy together. I really need this for them, um, so Ida meets Rain at these tests. Both of them find that the tests are kind of boring and not really that interesting, and they kind of bond over this shared interest in troublemaking. Rain is surprisingly a bit of a troublemaker too, which we kind of saw a bit of that from them in the past when they were, running the bats and everything. So it's not an entirely huge surprise. But they also seemed a lot less timid around people back then too. Because we know that in the current day they're very timid around people. They're not the best in social situations. So it's, and especially when it comes to like performance and stuff, they get stage fright. But it's interesting because that didn't seem to be how they were in the past. They actually seemed very, very okay with performing and even excited about it in a way. When they were like doing all the tricks and stuff and doing all these tests with Ida, they were having a blast. They were just really, really enjoying it. And maybe that was because they were with Ida, but it also could be that maybe at some point they kind of, in a way, just crawled into their shell. And this is something I can actually relate to because I'm a very reserved person. I tend not to like start conversations with people. I have a hard time even holding conversation when someone else starts it, and just generally tend to have social anxiety. It's not as bad as some other people's. Like if you've seen Komi-san Can't Communicate, it's not on that level or anything. I can talk to people and everything. I can go out into social situations. I even like to do so. But I very much do have a hard time with it. And when I'm at places, a lot of times I will tend to kind of sit by myself and do my own thing, even at family gatherings and stuff. I'll usually like have a book or my Switch or something and just be doing my own thing. But in the past, there were plenty of points in the past, pretty much up to a certain point in middle school, where I was actually extremely socially active. I had a lot of friends. We would play all the time. Depending on where I was living at the time, there were points where I would play like street hockey with friends or baseball, or sometimes we would wrestle in the grass, or we'd even like, there's at one place where like we'd even have our Game Boys, but we'd be outside laying in the grass playing with each other, or even just not even necessarily with each other, but right next to each other sometimes, just playing our own games, just being together. And I was very social back when I was young. But again, around middle school, I kind of became very reserved. I crawled into a shell, and a lot of it had to do with a friend dying at that time. Which, when you're a middle school kid, that's going to fuck you up. And it fucked me up. He wasn't a very super close friend, but he was still a friend. And it caused me to become very, very reclusive, to the point where after that point, I had a hard time making new friends. Pretty much all my friends I had from that point on were friends I already did. And when I moved to new places, I had a very hard time making friends. Usually people had to come and reach out to me. And I was never as socially active. I was never as comfortable with it as I used to be. And it's carried on. And I've gotten better at it since I reached adulthood and stuff. And I started going to conventions and started just hanging out with people more. I've become better than I was like in high school. I was really bad with it in high school. But I'm still very socially anxious compared to how I was when I was a kid. And so I can relate to Rain having crawled into that shell. I can relate to them not always being socially anxious, but having reached that point at a point in their life. I think that's a great thing to see, that not everyone always like is the same in terms of that, in terms of their social interactions and comfortability throughout their entire life. And there are some people who are the opposite, who are very socially anxious early on in their life and end up becoming huge social butterflies later on. It happens. People change, people grow, and they grow in different ways. And you just have to be patient with them, and you have to understand them a little better. And work to just try to be there for them when they need it. And that's what Ida wants to do with Rain, and I'm so fucking glad they're okay. God, I can't wait to see other people's reactions to that. Like, that is a mark out moment. That is very much a mark out moment for me. But yeah, seeing how Rain and Ida got along, just how absolutely connected they were, even like with the secret handshake thing they were doing. It's like, oh my God, these two are just meant for each other. Like, it's so fucking obvious that these two are absolutely meant for each other. They are so fucking cute, and I want them to kiss. God damn it, I want them to kiss. It's like Luz and Amity. They're just such a perfect couple, and I love them so fucking much. Aggressive love. And that's pretty much what I got from this episode. It's a great episode that gives us a lot more development and depth into these characters and their relationships. And honestly, I just walk away from it just loving them even more than I already did. And that's honestly saying a lot, because especially with Rain, it's like I already adored Rain. I was already huge on the Rain train. Like, and that's a pretty popular opinion. Everyone loves Rain. How can you not? They're awesome. They're adorable. They're awesome. They are just insanely likable. But it's like this episode just does so much more for them and just makes them even more so. And it's like, my God. And again, I'm going to keep hammering it in. The ending reveal that they are not under Snapdragon's control. The reveal that they are literally like 12 steps ahead, thinking all this through, protecting Ida. It's like, best feeling ever. God. But tell me in the comments below what you thought of this episode, because it's very clear what I thought of it. It's very clear I'm a big fan of it. But tell me, yeah, what you thought down in the comments below. And did you see anyone else in the background at the school and stuff, by the way, besides like Odalia, Alador, Darius, any of them? Did you see any of the others in the background that I might have missed? Please let me know. Because it's very possible that there were others and I just didn't notice them. So if you saw anyone that I clearly didn't or whatnot, feel free to say so. But yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. I'm very hype over this. Thank you all so much for tuning in. So for now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.